Welcome back to JDM Legends presented by Turn 14 Distribution. The RB26 is finally together and it's ready to go in the engine bay. Welcome back, everyone. If you're new to the series, you will not know that this is an R33 RB26 engine that I am putting into an R34 GTR, and I am just in the midst of refreshing it. Huge thanks to Turn 14 for sponsoring this series. If you guys don't know who Turn 14 is, they're one of the largest wholesalers in all of North America. So if your shop doesn't use them, tell them to go do so. All right, guys, so let's start off with one of the burning questions as to what I am going to do with the oil pump. This is a Tomei operated oil pump, so it has larger capacity. It flows larger capacity, excuse me. It also has higher oil pressure, and that is all great things. It also has a forged billet gear set in here. It's reinforced on the backside so it doesn't crack. Which means these are all very, very good things, and these are things you want to have in an oil pump when you're going to be hitting the track and you just want to future-proof an engine. However, by adding this pump, you also need to have some supporting modifications. The main one being a restrictor in the head. What happens is when these things pump more oil, it ends up pooling in the head, and that is a significant issue. That's why the restrictor is so key. I didn't end up doing that. I would have had to split the head and the block. I didn't want to do that. The other thing that we could have done is put a larger capacity oil pan, a sump into it. So without that restrictor, without the sump, I just wasn't confident enough that I could run this safely. So what I did is I went and bought this right here, which is an OE N1 oil pump. I think this is going to suit my needs. The downside to this is that the gears in here aren't exactly great. They're not as strong as the aftermarket parts, which unfortunately does mean they still can shatter. I've seen high horsepower builds have these blow up. If you're riding the rev limiter, I've heard that is also a situation where you can blow up the gear. However, in this case, I'm going to leave this thing as is. Boundary Gear actually makes a proper gear set for this that you can upgrade and you don't have to worry about that. Thing is, right now, timing wise, I'm already so far behind this. I'm just gonna bolt this thing on. I know some of you aren't gonna like it and you're gonna tell me that I should 100% upgrade the gears. Thing is, I couldn't find the gears in time, so again, I'm not gonna sit here and make excuses. I just want to try to get this stuff done, and I'm confident that this is gonna work for me. Timing belt, covers, all that jazz is back on, and can we just take a moment to admire how beautiful this engine looks? Yes, it may be a bit complex, but man, oh man, it is a thing of beauty. Now we are going to start on completing the hot side here. There's still a bunch of stuff I need to bolt on. Man, this is essentially touching the Tomei outlet pipe, which isn't ideal. I'm super glad I wrapped this because that will help with any type of deflection of the heat. And these inlets, as well as this entire piece up here, also came from Ian at Remade in USA. And if you look at this is the factory piece that came off this engine, and compare it to his work. Oh, I don't know how many hours DP does he have into this on the Vapor Home.
A lot, for sure.
Wow, a lot of it. And once again, the attention to detail. This pipe does look like it's been cleaned up and looks really, really nice. I love these hose clamps that he's using. I've never seen these before. I've seen them before, but not really commonly used on builds. But seeing these now, I'm like, I am so sold. I want to get these for other builds because they give you that really, really nice look. Oh, and another thing to note here. So with the factory pipe here, this merge pipe, a lot of people complain about turbo shuffle, and that's when you're like driving around on partial throttle and these turbochargers are coming on. You can see the way the air travels into this pipe here, and it's just like kind of slamming into the other air, and it causes like a weird shuffle happening between the turbos. So it's not ideal. Some people, what they'll do is actually they'll weld a piece of metal in between here to redirect the air coming from this turbo and turn it and have it flow that way. However, I do have another option, and I'll show you that right now. Here you can see the Greddy full suction kit for the RB26, and man, it's a very, very nice looking piece, very complete. It's all bolt-on, which is really good. The blue is a little bit clashy with everything, but it is Greddy, so is their signature look. The big thing here is you can see the design with the piping. It does merge here as such. So now you get rid of that whole merging of the two air paths with the turbos going in together, which create that kind of like shuffle. This one just merges very nicely and goes like that. So I do love the OEM look of that piece. From a functionality standpoint, I think this is certainly the way to go. These intake pipes are going to make all the right noises, so those are staying on for sure. So we'll see. Once I get this in the engine bay, I can kind of like reassess, have a look at this, and figure out which one I'm going to run. But right now I'm leaning towards the function aspect and doing the Greddy one, despite me loving the OEM one so much. But you know, a little bit of bling is never a bad thing either, right? When we pulled this pan off, if you guys don't remember, we did have some of that Permatex Ultra Black that didn't dry in these grooves. So this time I've decided to stick to my tried and true faithful, the old Honda Bond. It does come at a premium. This stuff is not cheap, but considering the fact that we do not want an oil pan leaking, that is the last thing I want to deal with. I think it's well worth the expenditure here. Now, do you go in the groove, DP, and then out, groove, out? I guess that's the way to go, right?
That is the way to go.
You gotta fill that thing up.
And are you not worried about enraging the Nissan purists not using their stuff?
I think they all know using the, what is that stuff? The Nissan Orange it just does not look good. And I think it's all one and the same product here. This stuff seals up Honda engines. We've used it so many times that I'm confident in it. What I don't like is the squeezing going on here. This is supposed to be a 3mm bead. Should we measure this? The manual says it should be between 3.5 to 4.5, and you know what? I think I'm there. As long as I fill the hole here, which looks to be almost 4.5 mil, I think I'm good. So this might be a little thin here, but that is a-okay. Pan is in place, and I've got a question for you guys. I did struggle squeezing out the Honda Bond here in the tube. I wonder, do you guys know of any type of device or something that kind of like clamps onto this and makes it easier to like push through so you get a more uniform and consistent bead rather than just like me sitting here and squeezing, especially when you start getting to the end, it was kind of tough. So if you guys have anything, any advice, post in the comments. I think at this point, man, we are super close. We're just gonna power through and just bolt on the rest of the stuff to get this engine ready to drop in. We are getting close here. The intake side harness is on. We got all that bolted up. I've got the crank pulley on here, and the crank pulley bolt goes to 446 Newton meters. I don't even know what that is in foot-pounds because it doesn't calculate. I've never had to calculate that high.
I don't think foot-pounds go that high.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know if we have a torque wrench that will go that high. The 2J goes to, I think, 342 I read, and that one is like 220 or something. It's super high. This one is next level. Some of you actually posted in a previous video to tighten this. What you need to do is like put the car into 5th gear, push on the brake pedal, and then like try to tighten this, and that's the way to do it. So that's probably what we will end up doing. Peculiar here, the water pump, we were gonna put the pulley on here, and then we realized there's no studs. I actually have to install studs. Is that normal? That just seems fishy to me. Like maybe they forgot to put them in, because who doesn't include studs? This is an OEM Nissan water pump, so that's
cheesy.
That's nerve-wracking. I'm gonna put a little bit of Loctite on it because, well, why not? The last thing I want is the fan to come off here. So speaking of 2J versus RB, DP, I watched a video, a non-biased video about the 2J and RB and which one is better. And that gentleman said the RB is better in many, many ways.
Had he been, smoking anything or?
No. Like I said, I don't know him. It doesn't look like he owns an RB or a 2J, so he's very unbiased. But he was talking about the racing pedigree of this engine.
Did he have a Nissan tattoo on his forearm?
No. You know what? I will link the video in the description and in the top right corner for you guys to go watch. And then you can come back and comment whether that guy is on crack, whether he's right, or whether everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And wow, that is it. The RB is fully assembled, ready to go back in. DP, that felt like it took an eternity.
It's because it did take an eternity.
Did it?
It was a long time.
Was twin turbos the right choice or the wrong choice?
Man,
do you think? Should we just have gone with a single? Would that have made things so much easier? I don't know.
Think how simple the 2J was with the single setup.
I know, but it still takes time to like bolt everything on, and the fabrication part. So we really didn't do that. So I don't know. Before I even think about fitting the engine back into the chassis, I do want to jump into the engine bay there and address a couple of items that are going to be easy to access right now. Changing the fuel filter is going to be an easy task right now, and it makes sense because who knows when the last time this thing has been replaced. Ironically, I was able to get the fuel filter locally here from St. Thomas Nissan, and I assume it's probably cross-used on a bunch of other cars, which is why it's so readily available. But you'd be surprised how many parts are actually available through your local Nissan dealership for these vehicles. Next up here, we've got these horrendous broken clips here that are holding on the brake lines. They just look so bad and haggard, and thankfully I was able to order these new ones up, so this is going to make this job super easy, and it's going to look so much nicer than what we have here. If you've got a keen eye, you will notice that this clamp here is slightly bigger than the original one, and that is because this one is made for 4 hard lines. This one is for 5, and I'm just not loving it. So I think I'm gonna go back to Nissan and order the correct ones, because these will work. I'm sure 98% of the people won't notice that this has been replaced. I can just see it and it's triggering me. And truth be told, I do want the original ones. Just spoke to my local Nissan dealership. They are going to have the proper clamps shipped out to me very soon, so I will replace those. And before you guys go comment and let me know, why is the engine bay not being restored to the level of the engine? You can see there is a bit of rust here. There's certainly spots. A lot of this could be pulled apart, powder coated or cleaned up or zinc coated. And the reason is I am eventually going to do a full restoration on this vehicle back to like OEM standards. But for now, I do not want to do that. Obviously, it's gonna take a ton of time. I was just about to start wrapping this one, and I went over to this engine just to have one last look and noticed that, look at this clamp. So these are clamps that I bought off of Amazon. They look all fancy, zinc coated. I thought, you know what, why not use them? They'll match a lot of the remade in USA stuff. But they are complete garbage. They have broken in half, look at that. So these are brand new clamps and they've just snapped off here like this, which means the metal that they're using to make these is incredibly brittle, which is supposed to be the opposite of what these are supposed to be. So you can see they're complete junk. And sometimes that's what happens. Oh, here's another one. Look at this one's breaking right off as well. You know, buying stuff off of Amazon is hit and miss. You never know. Some of it is good, some of it is bad. Thankfully, I caught this before we put this engine in. I mean, this isn't a bad spot here, but imagine I used one of these clamps on the backside and then it started leaking. So these are going back to OEM, unfortunately, which means the good thing is they're not gonna leak, but they're not gonna look as pretty. Yet again, we have now run out of time. I need to get this video up for you guys tomorrow, so we are gonna have to end it here. And I really want to say I appreciate so many of you who have stuck through the RB build. I know it took a lot longer than expected. I'm sure there were some not so exciting moments, and I do appreciate so much of you guys that have watched continuously and supported me as I went through this journey, because it certainly wasn't an easy one. Next up here, this has to go back in the engine bay. Everything has to be bolted together. I'm hoping that is going to go quicker. And sooner than later, this thing will be fired up and it's gonna be monumental. I can't wait for that. So thank you guys for watching. As content creators, we certainly appreciate all of the support you guys give us, and think about giving us another like or a subscribe and turning on that notification bell, because it certainly does go a long way. All right, guys, we will see you in the next one.